Well, I'm sure all of you have munched on one of the Yogabar bars. I know I have. Well, my colleague Aishwarya was in Bangalore and she caught up with the co-founder Suhasini Sampath to talk about the company's journey from earning 5,000 rupees to building a 500 crore rupee brand, as well as the dynamics of ITC acquiring stake in the company. Let's check it out.
I think, like for a founder, like for Anandita and me and, now Aditya as well, I would say that it's really important that the brand outlives us. I did not want a situation where what we had built with so much love could not go to more and more people because we didn't have the money, or we were running running an operation where we didn't really understand distribution and the complexities of distribution. The reason why we picked ITC is because, you touched upon humility, right? And I think as a culture, we couldn't have found a better fit. And that's my thing, right? You have to join an organization where the culture fit is one of pursuit of excellence. Like, people should be willing to work really hard to push the brand. And I felt like now I know this brand will live. It'll live 100 years, it'll live 200 years, it'll live for the time, and ITC will do the right thing with the brand. And that was far more important to me than having personal glory on saying that, I want to list a company, I'm going to keep raising funds, and I'm going to keep, continuing this. Because you have to understand that Anandita and me don't come from a business background. We come from a very, like, my dad's a CA, CS, ICW lawyer. Anandita's from BITS and IIM. I did my CA, I went to LBS and Wharton. My elder sister's from Kellogg's or whatever. So education comes to us. If I had to become a PhD, it would have been a very easy thing, in our family. But I think the nuances of running business, I think the complexities of distribution is best handled by larger companies who have been there, done that. So I think the decision was absolutely right from a perspective of making sure that the brand lives for a very, very long time. So, and sitting here 2.5 months after the acquisition, there's not a single day that either of us feel like this was not the absolute right thing to do.
By 2026, there are certain terms that you will need to meet for ITC to make the 100% acquisition. What are those terms, if you could break down for us?
So, obviously, ITC being a public company, there is only so much information that I can share. It's not if. ITC will acquire 100%. The value at which they acquire the 100% is dependent on a certain multiple of revenue and profits and EBITDA. And sitting here, all I can tell you is very few times in a negotiation, two parties walk away thinking the deal was absolutely fair. Sitting here today, ITC believes they had a fair deal, and we believe we had a very fair deal. But the compulsory acquisition will definitely happen. It's not a contingency. They will acquire the remaining percentage in 3 years' time. The value at which they will acquire is, of course, a certain multiple of revenue and profit at various different levels of revenue and profit. And it's very, very fair construct.
Right. So I understand that the turnover in the last couple of years, 2021 to 22, I think was 68 crores, if I'm not wrong. So going forward, what's going to be your growth target in terms of CAGR, in terms of your overall revenue? If you could give us an idea.
So I think the last year, despite, having spent the whole year in kind of doing the fundraise and getting through the acquisition, our revenues touched close to 90 crores. And this year will be very, very good. This year will be far better because now, much more. Simply because we're all focusing on the business now. So ITC is invested capital. We have all the capital that we need. We have the distribution might of ITC. So we'll see where it goes. We're very, very positive about where this business can go in the current year. And then just the distribution might of ITC opens up so many possibilities. We've also expanded into a lot of categories. So we now do dry fruits, we do infant food, we do cornflakes, we do chocos, we do everything. Everything that's clean labeled, we've now become like the largest clean labeled food company in the country. So, the possibilities are looking very promising.
Right. So now that ITC is on board, what sort of suggestions do you have to sort of expand your SKUs, and how has it helped you scale up the brand across India? at different pin codes, maybe, for example?
I think the beauty of this acquisition has been that ITC is not touching the core of the brand in terms of the way products are developed and the way we choose to do marketing, because they believe that that's where the brands become really like with Yogabar, like people feel very personalized about it. Like everyone has an opinion, and if you ask most people what they feel when they eat Yogabar, they say they feel happy. And creating an emotion out of food is a very difficult job unless founders kind of like really, we put our heart and soul into the way we do our packaging. And you know, when we release our like our toddler food, we're all thinking about our own kids. I mean, whatever product that Yogabar is, maybe we think about how our families would perceive it. What do we want to communicate to our family? What's good for us to consume is what is good for our consumers.
Is your daughter tasting all the
She eats, I mean, and I'm not kidding, like you could do a blind audit in my house. The only packaged food that you'll find is Yogabar. And that's the promise that I made. I said, if the food that I eat is what all my consumers will eat. Like, it's not going to be one of those cases where you manufacture and you grow for profit. I mean, the way we make food is we put a lot of thought. We think about our family when we kind of make food, right? So that essence hasn't gone. So ITC is left all of that with us, and we run independently. We run in an independent office. We, are sitting separately and all of that. And we have a couple of folks from ITC who've joined us, like Aishwarya, Shivan, Aditya, and all of them. And what we're really doing is we're using processes of ITC. We are using the places where they're strong, like distribution support. How do we kind of negotiate with retailer partners differently? How do we get launches at the right margin? And I think what we're really focusing on is getting process improvements from them.
In terms of the startup scenario that we see right now, whether it's a consumer brand or any other sector, most of the founders at this point are really seeing a lot of setbacks in terms of governance issues, funding winter we're talking about, and Yogabar has been a successful brand so far. What do you think has been your success mantra?
I think financial discipline. I feel like inherently, because, and I'm a good chartered accountant, like I understand money really well. I might not be incentivized to make a lot of it in my life, but I understand how you run a good business. We were always ahead of the capital that we raised. Our revenue was always 4 times ahead of the capital that we raised. We would not take capital just because it's available. To give you context, we raised about 80 crores of capital. 20 crores was used in setting up fixed assets. We set up a fully owned automated plant that can manufacture up to 500 crores. About 10 or 20 crores on working capital. We've used 50 crores to reach a brand at this level. There is absolutely no brand in the country that's been as capital efficient as we've been. And I think that's the mantra. Like, you have to make sure that you really control your capital. You can't have your debtors piling up. You can't have promotions that you're not accounting in your books. You can't have, you can't do creative accounting. Like, you have to make sure that you understand your business and you accept your business for what it is and you take corrective action. It's okay. Like, there will be times when, the losses go a little bit out of control, all of that. But it's important as an entrepreneur to always identify and take corrective action. You should not turn a blind eye to what is obviously staring at you in the face. And capital efficiency really helps in consumer businesses. I wouldn't say that for tech. It's impossible to actually get that kind of consumer traction unless you put a lot of money behind getting that kind of adoption. But for a consumer brand, you can very well grow to a reasonably sized company by really controlling capital.
Which one of the categories is ITC most bullish on for the long term?
I think they love the fact that our chocos is like 100% no maida. Like, it's 70% millet and dal, which is as good as it gets, right? Like, imagine feeding your kids, millet and dal through a chocolate combination, and the chocos in the market obviously is maida laden and all of that, right? So I think ITC is really excited about the fact that we've been able to create healthy and tasty products at the same time. So I would say chocos and infant food is probably what they're excited about, and of course the dark chocolate muesli is a favorite. Like, the retention rates on that are just ridiculous.
But in terms of money, which brings in the highest amount of chunk?
The dark chocolate muesli as it stands today, yeah.
Post this, what is next for the Sampath sisters?
I think we could end up starting up again. I might end up doing something in the social service space, because that's something that I feel like if money is not such a large motivation, I don't find a sector that I really am keen to work in, I would be very interested in setting up like schools for, you know, people who are not as privileged. And I do believe education is the way forward. So might do something in that.
Is it going to be another edtech company?
No, I mean, I would do it non-for-profit. I would build it in a very sustainable way. I would not. I mean, when money is not a motivator, you can build to create impact, and that would be the metric with which I would measure the remaining part of my life would be how much impact I created, which is very different from how large I grew a business, and I think that would be my focus. Yeah.